Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're taking a look at a very niche product, a very interesting product from Deadfoot Arms. This is the SCW 2.5-inch version. So this is a modified cycle system with a telescoping folding stock. Well, it's a telescoping stock, and comes in at about $600. But before we get into that, if you want to help me out personally, you can, of course, like, share, and subscribe, as that is all free and does help me out quite a bit. On top of that, go ahead and comment literally anything down below. Now, there's also Subscribestar, which is basically just a pro to a Patreon, and there's also my website, which you could theoretically buy stuff from. However, everything is currently out of stock. Now, full disclosure on the Deadfoot Arms SCW 2.5-inch version is that I have no relationship with Deadfoot Arms whatsoever. I did not pay for this stock either. This was actually sent in by a kind viewer for me to review. He actually sent me some stuff to do some repair work on, and he also sent me some stuff to review. So this is one of those things that I'm reviewing. I didn't pay for it. However, I have no relationship with the company whatsoever, and before he brought them up to me, I had never heard of them before. They have several different versions of the stock. This is the 2.5-inch version. They have a 4-inch version. They have a 9mm version. They have stock versions as well as braced versions. Now, as you see it here on this 16-inch upper, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. This is definitely designed for either pistol or SBR applications. Really, the sweet spot is going to be anything under 10 inches, 9-inch 5.56, 9-inch 300 blackout, and shorter. That's really going to be the sweet spot for a very compact package. Now, you can get a very compact package while doing a folding stock, of course, but then you get, sure, it is short, but it is also, in that case, very fat. So if you're actually looking to get something inside of a bag for, again, any sort of bagged application, you might actually want something that is super slim like that, and again, only adds 2.5 inches to the back of your gun. So again, imagine this was like a 7-inch barrel or something like that. You would have a very baggable package. Again, on a full-length rifle, a 16-inch, a 14.5 pin and weld doesn't really make a lot of sense. But again, if you have this on an SBR lower or the pistol version of the stock, then it can make a lot of sense if you're looking at getting a very slim package that is also as short as possible. Now, another advantage of this, because this is a modified cycle system over like a standard traditional pistol brace, is that this is, of course, fully functional at all times because everything in here has been modified to work within a much shorter distance. Now, before we get into the changes to the operating system itself, we will, of course, go ahead and go over what the stock is. So to get it engaged, all you need to do is pull very hard straight to the rear, and it will automatically come out. Now, once it's out, it is locked in position, and it does have, I want to say, 4 or 5 different notches cut into the left steel rod so that it will lock in place at different places. So, of course, if you don't want it all the way out, you don't have to. However, the length of pull is not that long, so even for me, who's not particularly tall, I like it all the way out. However, if you did want it shorter for whatever reason, you could do that. There is a button on the left-hand side that you need to depress to be able to get the stock to go in. Now, other than the 2 steel guide rods, I believe everything else is aluminum, so you have an aluminum butt plate that is not particularly comfortable. However, it does work, and again, for the intended application, I think it's just fine. You have an aluminum end plate here, as well as a kind of a castle nut, I guess you could call it, that kind of the way it all assembles together. We'll get into that a little bit later on. Now, on the end plate itself, it does give you 2 QD points that are anti-rotation, which is fairly nice. So if you still want to mount your slings, you still have sling mounting options. It doesn't completely remove those, which is, again, a nice touch. Now, as far as materials and construction goes, everything looks fairly good. There is a little bit of wobble in the stock. However, it only has 2 contact points, so that's to be expected. The machining tolerances, everything else is fairly tight, though again, there is going to be a little bit of play in it. Now, getting into the most annoying thing and the most interesting thing about it is going to be the modified cycle system that they have installed. If parts don't go flying everywhere, that would be awesome. So it is not a captured system. It is a dual recoil spring assembly that allows everything to, don't fall, to kind of ride inside the BCG. So you have your main recoil spring and then your secondary one here and a plunger that this one here will actually slide inside the BCG as it moves. Now, these 2 things are, of course, very important. They also include a bunch of different springs. I'm currently using what I believe are the high power springs, and they have a set of weaker springs, again, depending on 300 blackout, 5.56, hot ammo, steel case, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Now, the BCG itself, this is a chopped up 5.56 BCG. Hey guys, Editing John here. So this bolt is a Bear Creek Arsenal bolt, as I'm about to stipulate in the video. However, the reason that it is a Bear Creek Arsenal bolt is because Deadfoot Arms has a program called the BCM Bolt Carrier Modification Program, where you can send in a bolt carrier group and they will modify it to work with their modified cycle system. So this is a Bear Creek Arsenal bolt, however, it is not something that Deadfoot Arms offers. They use a white label Armory BCG, not a Bear Creek Arsenal. This is something that, again, the gentleman who sent this to me sent in to them to get modified to run with their system. But again, this is the bolt that the customer shipped out with it, which is, again, a shortened 5.56 bolt that this plunger system here will sit on the back, and then as it cycles, will go inside the bolt itself to, again, allow it to more efficiently use the space so that it can get a full operation with, a much shorter buffer tube. Now, because of course the carrier itself is the shortened part, you could throw whatever bolt that you want to in here and it should in theory work. So if you want 5.56, 7.62 by 39, 6.5 Grendel, so on and so forth, you in theory could. Now, both myself and Deadfoot Arms would recommend against that because while you could, those cartridges are going to be a little bit more energetic, and there's really just not that much space in here to have powerful enough spring setups, or at least they didn't include powerful enough springs to really handle those hotter cartridges. Even with just standard 5.56 and the stronger set of springs, you're getting somewhere between 10 and 20% more bolt velocity with this system versus your standard system. So if you were going to throw in like 7.62 by 39, you would probably be going through a lot of extractors with, again, a bolt velocity that is probably just too fast. Now, the one minor caveat to that was that if you were running an adjustable gas system, you should be able to, in theory, get a system that would run properly. Now, to get these guys to go back together, it is kind of a chore, and it's fairly annoying. So you have a plunger on the inside, or at least a guide rod that you kind of need to get that guy lined up on, and then hope that it doesn't go flying everywhere. And maybe, just maybe, there we go. Did I get it? There we go. Look at that. Hey, I got it together on camera. First try, no problem. Now, getting into performance, as I mentioned earlier, this is a very interesting recoil system that they have going on, and it definitely does allow it to operate in a much shorter environment. A 2.5-inch buffer tube versus a 6.5-inch buffer tube, I want to say. So it does give you an overall much shorter package. However, the trade-off there is that it just doesn't shoot as well. Now, it doesn't make it terrible to shoot by any means. It will simply bring up whatever gun that you're shooting up to the next bracket. So if you have a gun that is very well gassed, it will turn it to just fine. If you have a gun that is just fine, it will turn it to being a little bit overgassed. And if you have a gun that's already overgassed, it's going to be very overgassed, again, for this recoil system. So the gun that I was testing it on the most was the Mark III, which is kind of in the middle of the road. It'll eject that 5.56 Norma that I was shooting at about 3 o'clock. However, with this recoil system installed, it would then move that 3 o'clock ejection all the way up to about 2 o'clock ejection, really about 1:30 to 2 o'clock. So again, it will kind of take whatever gun that you have. If it's already very well gassed, it will make it okay, and then so on and so forth. So it kind of just pushes it up to the next worst bracket. Now, that's not to say that I don't like what they've done with the recoil system, because of course that is one of the trade-offs that you're going to get for getting a much shorter overall length in terms of your operating system. And it does work in that regard, but you are going to take that trade-off of a little bit more punchy of a gun. Now, it's still totally usable. I was still able to shoot it very quickly, still hit all the shots that I needed to hit. And we're still talking about 5.56 and or 300 blackout. Again, I wouldn't really recommend any of the more energetic calibers that you can get in a AR-15 lower. However, you could try those at your own peril. Now, as far as reliability goes, currently I only have about 300 rounds on the system, but reliability was 100%. I didn't have any issues at all. Again, really the only thing that it changes as far as the dynamics go is going to be the bolt velocity. So the issues there could be, you could run into issues if you have like a really old magazine with really weak springs. That could be a problem if the bolt velocity is too high and your magazine spring is too slow, or ripping off case heads off of really cheap steel case ammo, or deforming case rims, so on and so forth. Again, if that bolt velocity is too high. Currently on their systems, they are using a different bolt, a higher quality bolt and BCG. So it's not really too much of an issue there, and something I would complain about, again, for a $600 system, getting a Bear Creek Arsenal bolt. That seems a little cheap, personally, especially, again, if you're charging $600+ for a system in its entirety. Now, again, the main draw of something like this is that, again, with a shorter barrel, it's going to allow you to get a very short overall package that is very baggable, very concealable, because, of course, it doesn't have the additional width of a folding stock. On top of that, it retains 100% functionality, even when it's in this configuration, of course, because the bolt is still fully traveling and doing everything that it can do within the modified recoil system that they have going on here. That's going to be the main advantage over like a folding brace or a folding stock. The main problem here for most people is that this is triple the cost of a good folding stock adapter. So from a pure value perspective, it can be a very tough item to sell and not something that I would be particularly interested in personally. But again, if you're looking for a very short overall package that still retains 100% functionality, something you don't even need to worry about full flipping the stock out before you can use it, this is something that does that. It is a very interesting concept, and again, they do have to modify a BCG and throw in a whole new recoil operating system, and there's a lot more machining going on here than something like just a law folder adapter or something like that. It is a very interesting system. It does have some drawbacks, namely going to be that bolt velocity and, of course, the price itself. But with all that out of the way, guys, that's basically all I have to say on the Deadfoot Arms LLC SCW 2.5 inch version. Let me know what you guys think of this stock in the comments down below, if you think it is worth the $600 price tag, given that it does, again, come with the whole recoil system and, of course, the BCG as well. New ones are not a Bear Creek Arsenal bolt, at least as far as I can tell. So, with all that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I will see you in the next one. Peace off. A little bit pushy, for sure.